Welcome to the very first episode of the Kathy Kennedy Show. Funnily enough, I'm your host, Kathy Kennedy, or as a lot of people call me, KK. So glad you joined us. Boy, we are going to have some fun on this show, covering a variety of topics and issues. And before we get into that, let me tell you a little bit about my background, for those of you who don't know me. Spent about the last 25 years working in radio and television and decided, you know what, time to start covering the stories that I want to cover, not what the boss wants me to do. So we are going to highlight some topics that I kind of have a particular interest in, like fishing. Girl loves to fish. So when it comes to fishing, we are going to tell you some of the latest and greatest products out on the market. We are going to tell you what's biting and where, and we're going to do that with the help of our guide report. We've got guides on the water from Saskatchewan right through to Ontario, telling you where you need to be fishing and what you need to be using. In fact, take a look at this quick clip.
Hi Kathy, Rob Fertani here reporting to you from Regina, Saskatchewan. Congratulations on the new Kathy Kennedy Show. I'm really looking forward to sending reports on the what, the where, and the how to make the most out of your fishing day here across Saskatchewan. I wish you nothing but success and good fishing. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Rob. I tell you what, that guy really knows his stuff. So make sure you stay tuned for some great guide reports featuring Rob in Saskatchewan. All right, one of the other topics that I absolutely love and going to be loving bringing you stories from is the world of music and entertainment. In fact, you will probably be seeing some of music's biggest stars right on this very show. Take a look at this clip.
KK, it's your dear friend and your biggest fan, Brent Fitz. I'm in Las Vegas. I just came off the road, and I'm here to congratulate you. I'm so happy that you are back on the airwaves. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to listening to you. We'll see you soon.
That, of course, world-renowned drummer Brent Fitz. And Brent is a Winnipegger who is currently on tour with Slash and the Conspirators. But boy, that guy has played with some of the biggest names in rock and roll. Everyone from Alice Cooper to the Guess Who to Vince Neil. The list goes on and on. And I guarantee that is not the last time you're going to see Mr. Brent Fitz on this show. All right, another topic we're going to cover is sports. Love my snowmobiling. We're going to be giving you snowmobile condition reports around the province of Manitoba, as well as perhaps into Saskatchewan and Northwest Ontario. We will cover the world of hockey. Also, football, both CFL, NFL, MMA. Girl loves her mixed martial arts. We are going to have reports for you on that. And we'll also have some special guest contributors. All right, if all of that isn't enough for you, a couple other things that you want to tune in for. One, prizes. We have got some killer prizes for all of the... Okay, no, that's okay, because I can edit it. Okay?
Yep.
Now, if all of that wasn't enough for you, we've got a couple of other things you may want to tune in for. One is prizes. We've got some unbelievable prizes that we are going to be handing out to all of you who are subscribing to this channel. So stay tuned for details on that. And then, of course, we do have a bit of a candid behind-the-scenes look at some of the taping that has gone on so far for this show, a blooper reel, if you will. Stay tuned. We may even show you a clip or two at the end of today's show. All right, let's get to one of our first interviews. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, love my fishing. And in fact, this past weekend was out in Kenora for the Kenora Bass International, and decided I'd take a couple of moments and head down to the Kenora Harbor front and speak to one of our regular contributors, Ryan Haynes. Ryan is a fishing biologist. He's also a former guide. He knows Lake of the Woods very, very well. Take a listen to a quick interview with Ryan Haynes. All right, and joining me now is Ryan Haynes, fisheries biologist. Ryan, welcome to the Kathy Kennedy Show. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know what, this guy, when it comes to Lake of the Woods, he knows his stuff. And first of all, we should tell you that this report is brought to you by Class Tackle. When you cast with class, you cast with confidence. Ryan, let's talk about the KBI, the Kenora Bass International, where we are at this weekend. Some interesting stories about this tournament, especially when it comes to the fact that this wasn't really supposed to be a bass tournament.
Well, no, originally when the organizers of this tournament wanted to have a tournament out of Kenora, their idea in the late 80s was to have a walleye tournament. And when they went and they approached some resource managers at Ministry of Natural Resources, and their preference would be to have a different species like bass, because they felt that there was already a lot of pressure on the walleye fishery, and bringing more attention to a species like bass that didn't have the same amount of pressure would be good for the fishery and good for the anglers. And they were very quick to make that change and recognize that the tournament would be more, I guess, fishery friendly if they focused on bass instead of walleye.
One of the great things about this tournament is how proactive they are when it comes to conservation of bass.
Oh, certainly, and along the way there's been some changes made. They're very quick to react to changes in science. There's actually a researcher who's originally from Kenora named Corey Susky, who's now at the University of Illinois, and about 10 years ago he started doing research that found one of the real impacts of bass tournaments was the amount of time fish spent out of water up when they're getting weighed in. And the tournament organizers were very quick to change how they weighed in the fish, so that today they now use, if you look on the scales, they've got water there, a pool of water that the fish are getting weighed in, so they're spending less time out of water, and it's a lot easier on the fish so that they're easier to release. And when they go from there, they're going into the Shimano boat, so they stay there for the day. Instead of just releasing them in all the fish in Kenora, they're asking the anglers what area of the lake they caught them in, and they're going back and releasing them back in the areas where they were caught, so it's not as hard on the fish when they do get released to get back to the areas they were caught in.
We should also talk about the fact that there is, when it comes to the time of the year of this tournament, this is a bit of a sweet spot.
It is certainly. You get into tournaments that take place kind of in early July. You run into problems with bedding bass. If you get a late season like we had this year, often you'll get bass still on their beds, which has some concerns around fish getting pulled off beds where they're protecting their nests and protecting the young fish. You get into tournaments that are kind of late September, often with cooler falls. You'll get deeper fish, so you get problems with barrel trauma when they come up from the depths. It can be harder on the fish. So really mid-July to mid-September is the best time for bass tournaments, and this is right smack dab in the middle, so it's definitely an excellent time of year to have a bass tournament and still be relatively easy on the fish.
You have fished this lake many, many times. You've even done some guiding on this lake. If there was a tip that you could give to somebody that was going out for the first time on Lake of the Woods and looking for bass, what would the tip be?
Well, I think one thing about Lake of the Woods is it can be an overwhelming body of water. But the bass are spread out throughout the whole lake, so if you pick one section of the lake and say one bay or one large basin, treat that as a small lake, and you won't be as overwhelmed, you won't be running around, and so you can try starting back in the bays, work out to the points and then the shallow humps, and if you just focus on that and treat it as its own little body of water, you can make sure you've tried all different areas and tactics before you start changing it in. So just making it a smaller lake, focusing on smaller areas can make it a lot less intimidating.
And that's a great idea. Now, is there a secret lure? Is there something that's going to reel those bass in? Can you share a little something with the public, Ryan?
I don't think, and I think all the bass anglers in KBI are so good. I don't think there's any secrets out there. They're all using the same baits. And the big thing is just time on the water. There's no replacement for time on the water. And I think often you'll find the guys who are doing best in this tournament are the guys who have prepared the most and spent the most time fishing.
Ryan Haynes, he is going to be a contributor on the Kathy Kennedy Show. The guy knows his stuff. We are so fortunate that he has joined us today and will join us in the next season. And Ryan, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And best of luck to all our KBI fishermen. All right, finally today, I promised you that we would be sharing with you some candid, behind-the-scenes kind of moments when it came to taping of this show. So I decided I would share, well, one of them with you, even though it's kind of embarrassing when it comes to me. But this past weekend, I was out in Kenora, as I mentioned, for the Kenora Bass International, and much to my shock and awe and horror, a bat decided to fly into the hotel. Now, here's the thing, it just happened that he was flying right by my room door. So every time I would try to get into my hotel room, this bat would dive bomb me. Well, I got the camera out, I took some footage. Take a look at this. Ah, jeez. Oh my God. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go?